This will be chapter 12 of The Journey Back. All night I lay there with my ankle throbbing like crazy, bug bites itching, and gnats trying to crawl in my eyes. But at least, I thought, I didn't have that blue light shining in my eyes. I had a lot of time that night and all the next day to think about giving myself up and letting my mind drift off to dumb things, like that blue light at Cliffside. It got so I really hated nights at that stinking prison. And yeah, it was a prison, even if they call it Cliffside Youth Center on our sweatshirts. In August, when the juvenile court judge sent me and JT out to the mountains, she called it a forestry camp. But I don't know where she's been at, because it hasn't been a real forestry camp for like 70 years. I saw a picture, so I know that a long time ago, during the Great Depression, it was one of those CCC camps President Roosevelt created for guys with no money. They lived at the camp and worked like dogs all day clearing land, building hiking paths, stone walls, stuff like that. On the wall in the office where we first come in, there's a framed up yellowed newspaper picture from back in the 1930s with all those CCC guys piled into the back of a truck with their axes and shovels, heading off to work. Civilian Conservation Corps is what CCC stood for. I'll tell you, I would have much rather worked my butt off like those guys than peel potatoes, analyze my life, and go to school all day, which is mostly what we did. Anyway, like I said, the nights were bad at Cliffside. There were 2 dorms, 20 boys in each, and all of us in one big room with tiny windows so high up you couldn't see out. Our beds were jammed together, separated by only a skinny gray metal locker, which barely had space for a change of clothes and a toothbrush. We couldn't have anything from home except a couple family pictures, but I didn't have any. Wished I did, though. It would have been nice every once in a while to look into little Leanne's pretty blue eyes, or get a glimpse of my baby brother Hank, who's growing up so fast. At nights, I'd close my eyes and try to remember what the kids looked like, while I settled into that hard, lumpy bed and pulled those scratchy blankets up to my chin. No talking aloud, which was fine with me, so we'd listen to the music they kept on low for a while. WQZK, 94.1 out of Kaiser, West Virginia. It was top 40 stuff. Most of it pretty good, actually. Supposed to calm us down. I know for a fact some of the guys had tears in their eyes when they finally rolled over and went to sleep. To my left, in that dorm, was Abdul, and to my right was Dante. I got along okay with both of them guys. Abdul was pretty private, but he always said goodnight. So did Dante. Only he talked to me some too. He was 16, which is 2 years older than me, and hadn't been to school in over a year. We were both at the same math level, so sometimes we worked together on homework. I never talked about my family or my crime or nothing, but Dante spilled out stuff about his life in Baltimore, and that made me seriously wonder who had it worse, him or me. He said prison saved him, although I'm sure that didn't mean he liked being there at Cliffside. It seemed like he was way too young to be a dad, but I know he missed his little boy back home. He kept a bent-up picture of his baby son taped inside his locker and kissed it with his fingers every night. At least Abdul and Dante could sleep. In no time, I'd hear them both snoring away. Not me. I'd lay there for hours, my hands behind my head, still thinking and worrying about stuff long after the radio got turned off. Even after lights out, the place was never dark because they kept that one blue light bulb on overhead all the time. Drove me nuts, that blue light, because it was like somebody staring at me all the time, so I could never really sleep. Boy, do you know what that does to a person? It was never totally quiet in there either, and not just because there was a mouse scratching away in the wall near Abdul's bed. We had this guard, a guy named Joey, in the room with us the entire night, sitting behind his big desk. He wore his leather jacket all the time, and he had a vicious case of Dunlap's disease. You know, his stomach Dunlapped over his belt. An old, stupid joke, I know, but that was him. He was like an old, stupid joke. A big, fat kid who never grew up. I could hear him fold and unfold the newspaper but my guess is he only read the comics. If he could read it all. I could hear him clipping his fingernails. I could hear him shuffle and snap cards in place during a game of solitaire. I could hear him rip open his junk food and crunch away on all that stuff he got from the vending machine. Heck, I could even smell the guy. Like, I knew what he had. I knew when he got Fritos and when he started in on a pack of them cheese crackers, all of which he washed down with cans of Red Bull. He always left the cans on his desk for us to see in the morning. Like, I wondered if he wanted to rub it in our faces that he could use the vending machine and we couldn't. So I didn't miss sleeping in that dorm. No way. But here's the weird thing. I was out in the woods, alone, no blue light in my face, no fat guard named Joey keeping an eye out. Still, I had this eerie feeling that someone was watching me. The next day, I found out who it was. I hobbled down to the river to get a drink and was throwing sticks for Buddy when I spotted some little fish darting around in the water. Man, I was so hungry, I was tempted to reach in and grab a few of them fish to chow down on, but I knew I couldn't catch them just like that. So I rigged up a spear-like thing by wrapping the jackknife, onto a stick with some vine. I didn't know if it would work or if I could actually eat raw fish, but I had to try. When this big catfish came along, I stood up and sent the spear flying into the water. Trouble is that I threw it so hard that the knife came off the stick and I lost my balance and fell in. Big splash. Naturally, the fish got away. I was left soaking wet and feeling like a fool. I pulled the knife out of the sand and was wiping it off with my shirt when I heard someone laugh. I opened up the big blade on my knife and positioned it tight in my hand. I also picked up a stick from the rock beside me. Slowly, I stood up in the water. The laughing stopped. "Who's there?" I demanded. Buddy barked at the bushes. "I know you're in there," I called out. Unbelievable, but out steps this skinny little kid who was about the same size as my little brother Hank, who's 8. No kiddin'. I bet they were the same age, only this kid looked like a wimpy little nerd. One of those pale, freckle-faced, bookwormy types who couldn't throw a ball or shoot a basket. The boy seemed scared. I shushed Buddy and brought down my hand holding the knife. "I'm not going to hurt you," the kid said. "Honest." "Yeah, well, why are you spying on me?" "I wasn't spying," he said, pushing the glasses up on his nose. His voice got quiet. "I was just watching you. You and your dog. What's his name?" I glanced down at the dog, who stared at my hand, ready to leap the instant I threw the stick. "Buddy," I told him. "His name's Buddy." "I wish I had a dog like that," the kid said. I tossed the stick, and while Buddy jumped in the water to fetch it, I sat down on the rock to take the weight off my ankle. While I folded in the blade and slipped the knife back in my pocket, I kept my eyes on the kid. "Who are you?" I asked. "And what are you doing out here?" "My name's Luke," he said. "Me and my dad, we're staying at the campground." "Yeah, is it a big campground? A lot of people?" "Pretty big. A lot of people." "Did you tell anyone about me?" The kid shook his head. "Nobody." "Well, don't, okay? I don't want anyone to know I'm here." "Okay, I promise I won't tell." I limped out of the water and up onto the riverbank. "What happened to your foot?" he asked. "I fell and twisted it, so it's laid me up some. I was hiking the canal path, me and Buddy. We were doing pretty good until someone stole my backpack." I swung my head to look at the kid. "Say, you don't have any food, do you? Like back in your tent?" His face lit up. "Sure, I can make you a peanut butter sandwich." "Oh man, I would love it if you could make me a sandwich. I'd take 2, in fact, if you could spare the bread. Boy, I would really appreciate it." Just then, Buddy returned and dropped the stick at my feet. And maybe one for Buddy too?" "Sure," he turned to go. After this kid, Luke, took off, I wondered what I should do. Whether I should get going before he came back with someone or just hide to see if he came back alone with those peanut butter sandwiches. I was pretty hungry. I stood and threw the stick again, then touched my puffy black and blue ankle and sat down. I wasn't ready to give up after all, and I was thinking that if I could get some food, we'd travel at night again. Even if I did have to limp along, we'd take it slow and work our way down the towpath. Sitting there waiting, however, I felt something sticky and made a discovery that was going to change my plans. Those bug bites on my face? They weren't bug bites. They were poison ivy blisters oozing all around my eyes, down my cheeks, and across my nose. I had it on my arms and hands, too. Damn, I thought. I must have picked it up when I was lying in the woods that second night out. Soon, the kid was back, alone, and with a plastic bag full of food. 4 peanut butter sandwiches, plus a couple bananas and 2 cans of Coke. I scarfed down 2 of them sandwiches right away while the kid fed pieces of another one to Buddy. Then I popped the top of a can of soda and drained it without stopping. I split the 4th sandwich between me and Buddy, and then sat there peeling a banana. Boy, I really appreciate this, I said around a mouthful. If I had a bunch of money, I'd pay you for it. But like I said, I got ripped off. Luke said, "It's okay, my dad won't mind." I stopped eating. "Your dad? Did you tell him it was for me?" The boy shook his head. "My dad's not even here. He doesn't get home from work until almost dinner time." "He's working while you're on vacation?" "We're not on vacation," Luke said. "We live here." "I thought you said this was a campground." "It is, but a lot of people, they live here. Some people got giant RVs and stuff. My dad and me sleep in a big tent. It's nice, though. We got cots and a rug on the floor. We even have a little TV that runs on batteries. Some people, they sleep on the ground. And these 2 guys we know, Jeff and Kyle, they sleep in their car. They smoke pot, too. We can smell it." "Wow," I said, and kind of rolled my eyes. I finished off both bananas while Luke babbled away about himself. I found out he was in the 3rd grade, just like Hank, that he liked math, but was no bookworm because he hated to read. He said he wanted a dog like mine someday, and he bragged about his rock collection, which sounded pretty lame to me. After a while, Luke said he needed to get back to do his homework. I figured I wouldn't see the kid again, so I thanked him a second time for the food and wished him good luck. After he left, I took a couple napkins he'd brought, dipped them in the cold river, and pressed them against the poison ivy on my face. Even though I'd eaten, I didn't feel so great. I went back to where I'd been lying down and stretched out with the damp napkin stuck to my face and my foot up on the rock. My face itched so bad, I felt like I wanted to scratch it off. But I fell asleep anyway and slept clear through the night. Next thing I knew, birds were singing. I smelled wood fire, probably from the campground, and I heard a couple vehicles start up and leave. Sunlight coming through the trees started to warm my face and made it more itchy. Then I had that blue weird light feeling again, like someone was watching me. Only this time I couldn't do a thing about it, or even know for sure, 'cause this was really scary. I couldn't see anything. The poison ivy had made my eyes swell up and close. And that's the end of chapter 12 of The Journey Back.